Us Hawthorns don't have daddy issues. We have granddaddy issues. Us Grayson girlies are losing our mind.
I'm like angrily tabbing things, which isn't a good thing.
I should have known that the plot wouldn't be as simple as Avery donating just $3 billion. Hello everyone, welcome back. I'm Safa. Today I'm going to be doing a spoiler-filled reading vlog for what, you may ask? Let me tell you. The Brothers Hawthorne by Miss Jennifer Lynn Barnes has finally arrived. Let me tell you, I have been waiting for this ever since I finished the final gambit last year, and it couldn't come early enough, let me tell you. This book officially isn't supposed to release until its publication day of August 31st or 29th, and currently it's August 24th. So why I, of all people, have received an early copy of it, I wouldn't even say early. I think the shippers just sent it to me before they were supposed to, just because they saw I had pre-ordered it, but I'm not complaining. But don't worry, I think I will release this video on the day it's releasing, just because you want to avoid any preemptive spoilers for anyone who are waiting for the book, and I think it's just fair that way. Other than that, I have read the entire Inheritance Game trilogy, obviously, have made a full spoiler-filled reading vlog about that, so naturally this video will be spoiler-filled. I will not hold back a single thought or idea going through my head when reading this book. And it is 500 pages, almost 500, it's like 480, of pure Jameson Grayson info. So how could I not be excited? Now, one thing to note, as a resident of the Grayson Girly fan club, I am both an optimist and a realist when it comes to this situation in the book. One being, I have very low expectations as to if Jameson and Avery split, because I don't think it will happen. I'm not a Jameson hater. Let's get that clear. I like the relationship. On a personal side, I would prefer Avery with Grayson. But Grayson has a lot of growing up and maturing to do ever since the fallout and just like whatever the heck Jennifer Lynn Barnes did to his character in the third book, The Final Gambit. So we're still recovering from that, quite frankly. So we're hoping he makes a full recovery in this lovely purple book. And I mean, it's just stunning. Like, it's just a work of art, quite frankly. I love the Inheritance Games covers. It's just so vibrant. It just catches your eye immediately, and I love how the foil stands out above anything else. I can't wait to start. We are starting this vlog finally. Let's get into it. Okay, so I know I'm not that much in, but I'm on chapter 2 now, just starting, basically page 10 of the book. Quite literally, not much has really gone down, but I just have to share my thoughts. It's just so refreshing to come back to the story, honestly, and just see the brothers being brothers and just seeing them really close. Because the first chapter, like the opening chapter, is just a prelude and kind of a flashback to Jameson's and Grayson's history, like 12 years ago when they're like 7 and 8 years old. So they're really tiny, and it's like Christmas morning, and it really just shows how much those two used to be really close together, because clearly they were scheming to set the clocks back, or was it ahead? No, they set the clocks forward just so they could get down to see their presents early, because it's just, I mean, children do that. Literally, the rest of the brothers, Xander and Nash, also anticipated that too, so they were down way before they were too. And it's just really cute to see how young they were and how invested they were in the riddles, and their grandfather had changed the location of the Christmas tree and everything, so they had to discover where their presents were. And then we get to the part where they finally found that he left clues on where to find their presents, and it led to this gigantic tree house he had built for all of them, with slides and ladders and like crazy things for a bunch of 8-year-olds to play on, which is honestly a dream. And I just thought that was so sweet. And then we start off with my favorite Mr. Grayson chapter right after we get into the absolute start of the story. Apparently, I think the goal of these two books in this duology is Avery had set an impossible task for herself and for the Hawthorne brothers. 5 years to give away more than $28 billion. So that's, I guess, the whole story and the idea behind these two books now. they have to donate a huge sum of the money she inherited, basically. Fair. I like that. I like that we're being charitable here because no one needs that amount of money. And so, me being a Grayson girly, I take every little word and thought he says to heart with increased sincerity. Like, let me just read this tiny passage on page 8. He basically says, "We have 5 more months to nail down the first $3 billion in donations. And I promised Avery I would be there with her every step of the way." And you know me, I would be there every step of the way too because I'm so invested in this. Promises mattered to Grayson Hawthorne, and so did Avery Kylie Graham's. If this ends in another heartbreak, I will be devastated, like absolutely devastated. And so that's just what happened. And then we find out, like, hello, Xander's like, speaking as someone with friends, a girlfriend, and an army of robots, I think you should just do with a little more balance in your life. This guy has a girlfriend, which we're assuming it's Max, because I mean, who else would it be? But when did this happen? As far as I remember, in the final gambit, they were probably implying that they had something going on, but clearly it's like solidified at this point, which is great. It's just funny how the baby brother is just kind of like advising his older brother now. It's just really cute. And then we ended off the chapter when they both get a text saying it's a 911 from Nash. Now, I have read some interesting excerpts released by Jennifer Lynn Barnes before this was actually released, and it was suggesting that Mr. Nash was getting engaged to Libby. Now, I'm all for that. So I'm thinking it's supposed to be for that reason. That's why they're getting the text. And if it isn't, I don't know what the heck it's going to be about. For now, let's continue. Oh gosh. Why did we have to start the chapter off like this? Oh gosh. It's cute. It's cute. I should highlight it. Okay, I'm highlighting it. Yes! I'm literally psycho, but oh well. I can fantasize too. Okay, let me back this up so I can mark it. Okay, let me. Grayson just interrupted Avery and Jameson, and I'm all for it. They're headed to London. Shouldn't update considering it hasn't even been that many pages, but I'm essentially on page 22, chapter 6, just started it, and recap of exactly what went down. So I was absolutely right that the 911 in question was because Nash wanted to propose to Libby, and so they all met up in London. Oh my gosh, so smooth the way this all went down. Let me flip back. So essentially what happened is that he went to show the brothers that he had a ring gifted to him by his nan, and the nan thought he would give it to Libby, as you know, so they can get engaged. But it actually turns out he had a second ring box, but it was empty, and it implied to the brothers that he already proposed with the ring he bought himself. And I was like, they're actually engaged. That was so cute. So I was right, and I'm very happy about that. But it's so sad because Grayson, like mopey Grayson, this is why I'm into like the sad, broody, morally, he's not morally great, but like, you know, broody type of love interest. It just hits home. And I think, I don't know, his protective nature over everyone, specifically Avery, is just so sweet. But this quote, he said after Nash proposed, he said everything had already changed. Nash was already with Libby, Jameson with Avery, even Xander had Max. And I was like, this man is so alone. And then literally the chapter after, they had like an impromptu bachelor party. And so when the rest of them went to sleep, Nash went to Grayson and he handed him the Hawthorne ring box that the Nan gave Nash, but he's giving it to Grayson. And then Nash says, "Why don't you hold on to this?" And he's like, "Why me?" And then he said, "Jameson would have been the obvious choice for obvious reasons. Why not you, Gray? Someday with someone, why not you?" It's so sweet. I love the bond between all four of them. Although the three of them, Grayson, Nash, and Xander. Sorry, I love the bond between the brothers, but it's weird because you can still sense a bit of tension between Jamie and Gray, and I really hope that's more resolved, but I don't know if it's because of Avery. I don't really think that's the cause. Now, they did mention how I think a lot of it is attributed to the whole Emily situation back in book 1, but even now you can still sense a bit of it still there between them, and I wish that gets resolved, but it's so sad with Grayson. And then it's just like, and then we pop into the next bit of the chapter where it seems like I don't know if he still has lingering feelings for Avery, but it's evident he still very much cares about her and her safety and just her well-being. And it's just, it's hard because it's so hard. But anyway, it seems Avery right now is really skeptical of Jameson because he keeps brooding and like he doesn't seem happy with everything that's going on because he's a risk taker of the family. We've established this through and through, and it doesn't seem like he has been satisfied with his life because he sees that everyone else has kind of done something that's meaningful to them, but he doesn't feel like he's done something meaningful with his time, and so that's kind of pulling him off in his own direction. But let's continue reading. They're the sisters. I was like, what? Okay. This really doesn't deserve an update, but it's just, I forgot the synopsis of the story, and so Grayson gets a call, and he's talking about these two girls, Juliet and then Savannah. And I was like, what? And then I realized that was his sisters, because then he mentioned it later, and then classic Grayson, he has to dress up all fancy, and he takes, what the heck kind of car does this man drive? A Ferrari 488 Spider. Shows up in style, clearly. Not against that, but I forgot the story had involved his sisters. Okay, might as well recap what happened in the last chapter. What I love about this book, honestly, is that everything is like so short chapter-wise, so it's so easy to fly through it. Even though I haven't made much progress right now, there's still a lot that has been going on. So, nothing is simple in the inheritance games in the Hawthorne world as we expected, and I should have known that the plot wouldn't be as simple as Avery donating just $3 billion to charity. Like, there's no way. So really what's going to happen is that Jameson has basically taken a deal with his father, who he just met, Ian Jameson, forgot what the heck his last name was. He's a British man, basically, in London. And basically, he asked Jameson to go into this illegal and secretive gambling den called the Devil's Mercy and basically win back his mother's home that he lost in a gambling bet for him, because the dad, Jameson, has kind of been banned from the secret society thing. I don't know what kind of Illuminati crap this is, but that's kind of what's happening. And so Jameson just told Avery about this, and now they're both possibly going to go on the hunt to get back this vantage house, is what they called it. And so that's the whole goal. So now we've established Jameson's side of the story. Now Grayson has something to deal with his sisters. I don't know what, but we will find out. Okay, so I'm going to give an update on the brothers Hawthorne now. So I'm about page 99, just starting chapter 21 now. So a couple of updates. Jameson, on his side of things with Avery, they have officially contacted or have met up with this messenger guy named Rohan, I believe. He's basically this with a middleman who will help them get into the Devil's Mercy Club that they're supposed to get into and everything. And so they've just met up with him. It's kind of funny. This man's kind of showing up like he owns the place. It's really hilarious because they arrived, Jameson and Avery, back at Hawthorne House to kind of establish everything, what they've kind of been up to lately, and just ease off from their London trip. And the guy shows off at Hawthorne Manor, just having a drink, laying around, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't expect to see you guys here. Your house is so nice." And it's just really funny. So now he basically laid out the contract they have to sign. It's like an NDA that they obviously can't talk about anything that goes on inside with anyone else, and that they have to pay this massive fine of $500,000 in order to actually get into it, meaning the both of them. And yeah, so that's all we're up to on this side of things. And they both signed it. Jameson, interestingly, was a little more reluctant than Avery at first, inevitably signed it. And then we go on to Mr. Grayson's side, and it's so cute because he finally met both of his sisters, Juliet and Savannah. They're both twins, so they're the exact same age. And it's so funny. He also met their mother, who is, I don't know how to pronounce her name. Is it Acacia? I don't want to say it wrong, but it was really nice because Acacia, I don't know, but Savannah and Juliet's mother, right? And so it's so interesting because Savannah and Acacia, the mother, know who Grayson is. They know he is their father's, or Acacia's husband's, illegitimate son, who he basically disowned. And so now, although Savannah herself is very hostile towards Grayson, telling him to leave and not get anyone's hopes up about being the brother, and the mother, on the other hand, it's you are always welcome here, and I'm happy to hear I won't hold a grudge against you, even though I knew that my husband had an affair with Sky. And it's just she knows all about it. But it's so sweet to know that she's basically opening up her home to him and becoming that more motherly figure than his own mother really was. His own mother is just a snake, to be quite honest. But she is so sweet, this new mother. And honestly, what I'm most looking forward to on his side of things, other than the obvious, which we've already established, which is the whole fixing of his relationship status. And second of all, I'm really interested to see how his relationship with his sisters really goes, because that's such a sweet bond for him. Because I think this entire time, he really kind of highlights how lonely he is sometimes. Because he says every one of his brothers is coupled up, and his grandfather died, who's really close with. His father's gone, obviously. His mother's just always out of the picture. And it's just he's always on his own. So it's really sad. And so now that he has siblings of his own who he finds he could take care of, it's just really, really nice to see. Oh my gosh, that's actually really cool. Oh gosh, I swear if it becomes another incest trope, I'm going to die. Thank you, Grayson. Holy crap. Stop right now. I knew it. I knew she was in this book. Stop. Evie? You kidding me? Pause for a second. I need to highlight this. I work for Eve. I am gonna lose my... Why is she back in this story? I swear, if this is another case of trying to ship Grayson with her again, I'm going to throw this book at the freaking wall. Because this cannot happen. I'm angrily tabbing things, which isn't a good thing. So I guess now is a good time to update. I don't remember the last time I updated, but I'm on page 149 now, just starting some other chapter 32 basically. And who pops into the picture? Who is mentioned? It's Eve. Oh my gosh.
Of all people, to be back in this story, her, I swear, if this girl is ended up with Grayson at the end, I will lose my mind. It's one thing for Grayson to be alone and, you know, have residual feelings for Avery, even when she's with Jameson. But when she tries to set him up with Eve, of all people from the final gambit, I would prefer him single at that point. No joke, legitimately would prefer him single. Us Grayson girlies are losing our mind. Like, please tell me there is a meaning to her in this story, meaning she's like one of the bad guys. I hope she's the bad guy, goes back to jail, but knowing Jennifer Lynn Barnes, it's probably not gonna happen. Okay, what happened besides that in the last 40-50 pages? I think I talked about it, but no, I didn't. So basically, Jameson and Avery went into the Devil's Mercy Club now, and they're basically just got a tour of the place. Is this foreshadowing I see? Rohan literally just said, if I were a member, I would be wagering on the likelihood that Miss Grams breaks up with him, meaning Jameson, within the year. No offense, by the way. So I think my predictions are right. I don't know about the whole Avery and Jameson breaking up thing. That might be just like a thing to just throw a wrench into our minds and just like screw us up a bit. But I do think that Jameson might be named the heir to the proprietor, because it just makes sense for his character and what he wants, considering he's just always in that kind of position of wanting more. I don't know, it just seems like it would fit him and his role. Now, I'm not evil enough to say that Jameson should break up with Avery, because we both know that's going to be a messy situation if it does. However, should such a situation arise, there is a suitable individual waiting. But obviously, I don't think it would be good for them to break up. However, if Jameson becomes the proprietor's heir, that would be really cool.
Okay, time to update on the brothers Hawthorne now. I'm almost done. So this will be my last update before I actually finish the book. So I am currently on page 371, chapter 78. We are going to be starting Grayson's POV. But to recap everything since the last time I've talked, essentially, a lot of things have went down. So we know Grayson and his sisters are kind of embarking to figure out what was in that box that his father left behind. And eventually they did open that original box, and it led to seeing a bunch of photos of Grayson as a child and like growing up. And they were like, why Grayson? And it was interesting because in the final gambit, I assumed that based on Sheffield Grayson's personality, he didn't like the Hawthorns or Grayson, obviously by association. And seeing it now in this book, it's just like he has photos of him. So clearly he was yearning for a son, and they talked about how Colin died and everything and how it really affected him, and now he's like obviously dead now. But yeah, so maybe after he died he went, I don't know, maybe looking for Grayson and trying to find that bond again. I don't know. But clearly he didn't look out for him other than the one time they met. On the other side of things with Jameson and Avery, so we've got to the part where they're actually in the game, and they basically reach the end point where they have all the keys they need and they need to open the boxes. And so the crazy thing happens is that Avery has the key, and the box that opens it is Jameson's secret. And I was like, oh my god, this is the time where she's gonna learn, and we're gonna learn what the hell happened in Prague, because they keep emphasizing it like it's this big ordeal. Honestly, I wrote this down. I think he killed someone. Like, why else would Prague be such a big incident? And then also, in the first few chapters, Jameson mentioned, or Avery mentioned, that he came back with bruises, cuts all over his body after Prague and everything. And it was just like, what the heck happened to you? So I'm thinking this man killed someone, because what other big secret would there be to hide? I don't think it's a matter of like cheating or anything, because he doesn't seem like that kind of person. But on the other hand, the amazing thing that happened in this scene right before I finished, they had access to Jameson's secret, so I thought they would read it out loud. But what happened is that she grabbed the paper with the secret written on it and burned it before she or anyone else could read it aloud. And Jameson was telling her, like, just give the key to them, let them do what they want, because it would have saved them from reading the thing out loud. But she grabbed it and burned it anyway. So Avery, that is like the biggest testament of loyalty and trust to Jameson that I think I will ever see. And it's honestly really sweet. But is Prague really that big of an issue that he's gonna fuss over this and all this is gonna like come crashing down because of it? Like, what's so bad about this secret, huh? So enough about Jameson. Also, his father, Ian, kind of betrayed him. Not surprising. I like how we're getting more focus on him and his ambitions, but it's also like everything is like he wants more. He wants to do more. He wants to achieve more. Nothing's ever good enough for him. And I feel like that's starting to go down a bad rabbit hole, in my opinion, because what if that kind of thought process taints everything else? Now, I know it's kind of emphasized that it doesn't really affect his relationship with Avery, because he said, I think before, that she is everything or something like that. It was really sweet. But I don't know. It doesn't sound, I don't sound very confident, and I'm not very confident in where he is heading. Grayson's side of things, fast forward, they opened the box, they found the pictures, and then they met up with the aunt, who is Colin's mother. And then he had a box that they're trying to open, and essentially the way to open the box is with that USB that Grayson stole from the Grayson's house, like Sheffield Grayson's house with his sisters, and it was in the portrait. And it's not a USB, it's like a key. And here's my thing, I love Grayson, but like, why do you have to hide everything from your sister? Like, you've already gotten close to them. I feel like, what's the point in hiding it now? I think he's trying to save any conflict or issues from getting entangled with Avery or the things that happen in the final gambit of Hawthorne Legacy. But still, like, they're your sisters. And even their mother, Acacia, is that how you say her name? Acacia. She's starting to accept Grayson, and it's so sweet. Like, they have such a strong bond now, and to see it all come crashing down just because he didn't share that he had the USB key to open up that big box, it's gonna ruin them, and I hate it. But it is what it is. I'm disappointed with you, Mr. Gray. Okay, so I'm not gonna say that. I'm disappointed with you, Mr. Hawthorne. Also, I have to point out, I read this funny quote Jameson said. When was it? Basically, he was talking to someone, and he's like, us Hawthorns don't have daddy issues. We have granddaddy issues. I'm like, to be honest, you got both of them. Except for Xander, he just has granddaddy issues. But yeah, that's just everything I'm up to. So, I'm going to finish this book. One thing I wish would have happened, at least up till now, maybe it's going to happen in the next book, is Jameson and Grayson having more interactions. Like, up until this point, they haven't seen each other, talk to each other since one of the first few chapters when they went to London to discuss Nash's engagement. And it's just like, oh, boy, like, you need to. I know they have like an issue with each other. It's not really an issue. They just have some tension. And I don't think it's necessarily because of Avery, although it's probably a contributing factor. I don't think it is. It's mainly the whole Emily situation that's still bothering them, which is frankly childish. Like, get over it. I wish Grayson would get over Emily and Eve. Don't get me started on Eve the way Jameson did. That's a lot of talking. 8 minutes straight. I'm gonna finish this. I've officially finished The Brothers Hawthorne now. Overall rating, I think I will give about 4 out of 5 stars. I like this book. I really did enjoy the variations of Grayson and Jameson's perspective. Pacing overall very fast, but that's the way she's always written, Jennifer. And all the Inheritance Games books, that's honestly one of the reasons why I like them so much, just because it's so easy to read. The chapters are very short, and it's just like so immersive. Like you can fall into the story and just forget you're even reading. But more than that, there are a lot of parts I did like. Some parts were like meh. I think the ending of the story, I expected like some kind of cliffhanger, because I knew there's going to be a book after this called The Grandest Game. And I thought, you know, the cliffhanger would lead to the second book. But really all it was just the purpose of the Prague secret coming out, which honestly wasn't even that big of a deal. And the reveal was that Alice Hawthorne is alive. And I was like, huh? I was like, that's the Prague secret? That's the reason why this guy was cut up, bruises, everything, when him and Avery met back up? I'm like, that's what you risked your life for? To hide that? Like, I don't get it. On Grayson's side of things, I felt this man got his redemption arc that we all knew he deserved, and I'm so glad for it. What I'm glad is that this story in particular wasn't really about Grayson finding a partner in like life, like a relationship wise, but he was more about kind of rekindling that person who he was and finding solace and family and love, and like just healing that inner person inside that was kind of broken along the way with all those previous relationships. And with his family that he discovered with his sisters, it just like really rekindled that. And it's so sweet, to be quite honest. I love seeing his protective side just because you see the real Grayson kind of come out, and it's just so nice to see. Other issues I think I have with this book is that, yes, it's dual perspective, Grayson and Jameson. My issue with that is that this whole book kind of separates them and kind of creates two separate stories, because you have Grayson's riddles and mysteries that he's solving with his family, and then you have Jameson's side with Avery, because they're going to the proprietor and doing the Devil's Mercy games and all that stuff. So it's like very, very different. Now, the issue with that is that it just feels like two completely different stories I'm reading in a single book, and they could have been their own individual books, because they had little to no interaction between each other than like a little chapter in the beginning and then a little chapter at the end. So it just didn't feel right. My thing with perspectives, like multiple perspectives in books, is that it's good if it's in a single story, meaning all the characters are involved in a single plot point, because you just see different angles of the story told through different perspectives. But with this, it's different because you just see different stories overall. Now, I'm not against it. I just think it would have been maybe a bit more interesting if more of the characters were involved in each other's lives. But maybe that'll happen in the next book. I don't know. My thing is that it's very different, Jameson and Grayson stories. So they both had their attraction and lure in different ways. Jameson's, I find, was a lot more flashier, just because the club life and the hidden gambling dens and everything and the dresses, and it's just more attractive or pleasing to the eye, I find. But with Grayson's, it's more heartfelt and more emotional because his connection to his family he's trying to figure out there. And it's just like the appeal is very different, but I enjoyed them, I would say, equally but in different ways. Before I end this video off, I kind of just want to recap some of my favorite quotes or like lines or things that happen in this book. So there was two specific moments that I absolutely adored. So the first one is on page 233, and it's from Grayson's point of view. And it's kind of like from a couple years past, and essentially just kind of give you a spiel about what's happening is that there was a game that Tobias Hawthorne, the grandfather, kind of had the boys do, and Grayson lost. And so the old man says, I'm just going to read the quote, "I'm not upset you lost. I am, however, concerned that you are beginning to seem comfortable with losing." If that doesn't scream Grayson's whole personality and character arc, I don't know what does, because it's just really profound how well it links to how he's kind of grown throughout these three books in the Inheritance Games trilogy and then this, because we've seen with Emily, with Avery, even with Eve, of all people, that he has constantly lost people in his life that he had the opportunity to become very close with. And maybe it was intentional that he did that too, or it was unintentional, but it was a frequent theme that he just lost people he genuinely cared about. So that's one quote. The other one is with Jameson's, I think, perspective. This one's on page 250. This one's just a funny one that I just needed to make note of. So basically, he says, "Let the rest of the players think I'm dealing with daddy issues. Hawthorns have granddaddy issues instead. So true. Okay, that basically concludes my Brothers Hawthorne reading vlog, spoiler-free review, all of that in quotes section. I would definitely recommend reading it if you are a fan of the series. And yeah, it's just a really great time. It is a little longer. I think it's the longest out of all 3 of the books that are already out. And I just think take your time, really invest yourself in the riddles and clues. They're pretty easy to follow along. I find that I was more immersed in them too, just like they were just easier to understand, in my opinion. But overall, really great time. And you will love the 2 perspectives even more because we get a deep dive into their personalities, their social times, experiences, all of that, and their inner thoughts, obviously. And thanks for watching, and I will see you in whatever vlog I do next. Peace.